or demonstrations?
Well, they used to run the air shows, and people would come from miles around, and they'd have to do their own advertising and take out handbills and cards all over the near the town, down in different suburbs, and you get a crowd. Sometimes you get about 20,000 people out, maybe. But during my time, they always got Tex Rankin, my old instructor. He got to be famous. Fact is, he was a world champion aerobatic pilot once, and he would always prevail at the air show. And they used to have dead stick landings. They used to land at the mark. Of course, they never had any brakes on airplanes in those days. Wherever you stopped was counted, and I got pretty good at that. I could beat most people, but I never beat old Tex, my instructor. Some of his other students had beat him accidentally, but one time they had in Yakima, they had I forget how many, $200 or $300 up for first prize, and I went out and I got to be next to Laast. And Tex, they give him the honor of being the last, and there were 16 ahead of me. And went out there, and a lot of the fellows were standing by the runway to watch where it landed. And I come in, and by golly, I side-slipped a little too much, and I landed about 10 feet from the line. I cut everybody out, got first. But here come old Tex. And he came in, he landed right in the line. So I didn't get a cup, but I got $100 or so. I forget what the second prize was.
Uh-huh. So your brother Al worked with you here then?
Yes, Al flew too, but he didn't care for flying as much as I did. He was a machinist and an engine man, auto mechanic, and he kept the engines going, everything. Oh yeah.
How have the engines improved over the years?
They got more power. The old X5 weighed pretty near 400 pounds, 300 something, a little less than 400, and 90 horsepower. Well, now a motor like is in your 182 would weigh about it wouldn't weigh that much, 200 something, and it puts out about 200 and what horsepower.
230.
Yeah, they're more efficient. And of course now the turbine engines and jets, they're far more powerful. Of course the pure jet, it's powerful. It's sitting on the ground. It dwells on speed. It don't get its full power to get up a lot of speed. But the turboprop doesn't. Turboprop's got a turbine propeller model. It's got tremendous power. You know.
So how many hours have you logged, and when was the last time you flew?
A couple of years ago I flew, and I logged 23,000 hours more or less. Yeah.
23,000?
Yeah, absolute hours, no doubt about it. Yeah, 23,000. I kept track of it.
What was your favorite airplane to fly?
It's hard to tell. I think I like the Walker we had. Of course, I like the 172s we got now, and we got a Cardinal. I never did fly it really, but I like the old Jenny, the one I flew. I understand that Wally Olson in Vancouver's got one, but I like that old Jenny.
Yeah, I've talked with Wally, did an interview with him, and
yes.
he flew the Jenny last summer.
Yeah, that's
How made the Jenny so special?
I don't know. Well, it was flew they had them in World War I, and everybody liked them, but they were very tricky. Oh yeah, you stalled at the drop of the hat. You just pull up and the bottom would fall out. Right now, you had to be very careful. They were very good trainers. If you learn how to handle them, you could fly anything.
Which was, you think, your least favorite airplane to fly?
That's pretty hard to say. Let's see. I can't tell you really.
Okay.
They had some. Well, I think the poorest one, Tom Hall, who was in the Navy. I taught him to fly years ago. I had the privilege of doing that. He and I flew one in Seattle. It had a Ford engine in it, Model A engine, I think, and that was about the poorest flying ship I ever flew. It's just like a flying brick. We flew at a Boeing field in Seattle one time.
Do you have any funny stories you'd like us to know about, as far as maybe instructing or flights that you may have taken?
Well, my old friend Walt Boyer, who you said you interviewed a while back, he wrote some books and got my name in it, my brother's, and told some stories, but it had some natural things that were that really happened. They were kind of comical. One of them, right here in Yakima, I used the wrong words, I think. I was up flying with these two passengers, a fellow and a girl, over to town, and about 2,000 feet high. I was always careful to be high enough in case the engine stopped. So I was just trying to go as slow as possible, and the engine died. The idling was set too slow. It stopped. The propeller stopped right in front of me. And of course, I knew I could make the field. It wasn't alarmed like that. But they used to be able to dive the airplane for about 800 feet, and it would get enough pressure, the propeller would turn and start right up. And I told these people I'm going to dive. And so I did that, and it started, but when they got to diving, they looked back and they had the most terrified look that anybody ever saw. You can't imagine how it looked in their faces. And I got the airplane started, of course, and then landed, and it saved a little embarrassment. Somebody would have to go out and prop it for me, crank it. And they told me they thought I said we were going to die. So that really happened. Yeah. And that fellow come by years later and reminded me of that. I still don't remember his name. But I asked him if he ever married a girl. No, he married somebody else. And then another time, I don't know whether you want another story or not.
Go ahead.
I was down, had something kind of comical. I was down, Russell Schlostein was helping me, and his father owned the Eagle Rock. We went down to the town of Toppings down below Yakima here to haul passengers. And we landed in a field, there's some horses in it. We chased the horses down the other end and landed. No, there weren't any horses. We landed there the first time. And gee, we did a lot of business. And there was an Indian on a white horse come riding around the outside. And apparently he owned the land. And he had a big voice, but he wouldn't come over. You could hear him booming out. He said, "No stop here, no stop here." And I sent some of the boys over was helping me to sell tickets to tell them we'd pay him to use the field. And he just told them, "No stop here." So we finished hauling passengers and made a little money. So we came home. So the next Sunday we went down, and we never could get a hold of him, this Indian. And he had a full of horses. So we flew down and chased the horses over to one end and landed and hired some boys to herd the horses. And we flew all afternoon, and he never showed up, that Indian. And so we made some money that day, went home. So the next Sunday, he defeated us the next time. We got down, and he'd plowed with a single plow with furrows all down the field, just in a zigzag manner. that defeated us.
In all you started watching flying when you were a young man, watching pigeons. Has man accomplished anything in flight that you thought would have been impossible over the course of your lifetime? I mean, you just sat around when you were doing some hangar flying with the guys saying, they'll never do this, and then when they did it, you said, wow, I thought they wouldn't do that?
Well, there's a couple of things. The first one I noticed, but of course I was going by what my father was Scotch, and the British engineers said they would never make 500 miles an hour. And I sort of believed he was pretty good and pretty sharp, and those British engineers were. And they had made about 400 in a Savoia Marchetti Italian seaplanes, and that was terrible fast. But the thing I found out later when they made more speed was that they discounted the deal. They said that the airplane would burn up if we got faster than that. But they discounted the fact that the air cooled. And the thing that I based my knowledge on that, I thought then they would make more than 500 miles an hour, because I knew a 30-30 or a 22 high power would go more than 500 miles an hour, go pretty near 3,000 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. It never burned up, but the air cooled it. But they finally made, now they got, I don't know what the speed is now. It's
well, Mach 1,500 Mach,
yeah.
SR-71.
But then the next thing that I noticed that I never believed they'd make was to get out in space and land on the moon. And there again, one of the breathed scientists said they couldn't do it because there was no air on the moon, and I never realized that jet fuel, as they burn with liquid oxygen or hydrogen, whatever they use, and oxygen will support itself. It don't need the oxygen, and that will push you. Even if there's nothing to push against, just pushing that weight away makes you go. So.